It's a wonderfully overcast, light shower morning here in Williamsburg. For those that are in the area, I'm sure you're looking out of your windows and going, this isn't quite what Williamsburg looks like or is supposed to, especially when you look at Harvey's backdrop, because he's sitting in front of the Wren building. But nonetheless, we are glad that you are with us today. This is we're going about 4 or 5 years of gathering our military veteran incoming students together for, in this case, it's a BYOB, Bring Your Own Brunch event. And in the spring, we hope to resume our brunch event with breakfast, burritos, coffee, and more, and hope to have you join us for that event as well. But for the meantime, we will gather as we can and as we are able. I'm Lauren Garrett. I am with First Year Experience, and I am currently inside of a building and in a common space, and thus my face covering. So hopefully I'll have a chance to chat with folks when I am not completely sort of lower half covered, but wanted to make sure that you all as incoming students who have an affinity towards military veteran status here on campus get to know the people, places, and faces that will be important to you as you transition and thrive in the William and Mary community. And the first person that you definitely need to know and whom you've hopefully already had a chance to chat with is Charlie Foster. And so I'm going to turn the program over to him because this is really his show. This is really his world and we're just living in it. So Charlie, take us away.
Thank you so much, Lauren. This is always a fun part of the academic year is welcoming the new students. I have been looking forward to everybody getting here since I talked to admissions in the spring and they gave me some preliminary numbers and we crossed our fingers, COVID-19 be damned, that everybody would actually enroll. And so here you are. So we're very excited about that. Even in a normal semester, I'm here to help you. I always want to emphasize that this means you, right? This is specifically everyone who is at William & Mary, who is a student veteran. You're studying here. I have this kind of spiel that I do where I say that everything at William & Mary is designed for 18 to 22-year-olds who are traditional students and who live on campus, who reside on campus. Student veterans, I have a lot of data for any of my nerds out there. The student veterans make up less than 1% of the undergraduate population. And so what that means is for faculty and staff, if their processes and policies are working 99% correctly, like they're going to give themselves a good grade on that, and they should. So what I'm here to do is help smooth over, make up basically like exemptions or extra little policies and procedures for the student veterans. And I have worked with Lauren, like she said, for 4 years to do that. Tonya for as long. Basically, we have offices on campus who want to work with us, and that's what I'm here to do is help be a go-between with all that to the extent that everybody needs it. If everything is going great, that's what we want to hear. But if that happens to change because of one interaction with a professor or with any kind of staff, then I'm happy to jump in, be copied on an email, or even have phone calls, conversations, meetings, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And so an example that I can give you is with Res Life. Right now, we're working with them because there's no special exemption for veterans to not live in the residence halls. We've never had a problem with that because veterans meet these other exemptions that they have. So if you're older than 21, if you're married, if you have a dependent. But I was looking at the policy and I can't envision, because we're so imaginative here, that I can envision somebody who gets medically retired at 19. And so this is a veteran who doesn't meet this other criteria. So can we have that veteran exemption? So that's just a little example about the types of things that we can work on. We have 3,000 employees at William & Mary. I am yours, okay? So I am your employee. I'm dedicated just for you. What we also have on this call, on this presentation, is some other folks who are committed to this population. They're committed to helping you out. We've actually tailored this presentation over the years, like Lauren said, to include people who veterans have asked for. So the student vets have said, we want to talk to the people that you have seen hopefully on the agenda on the email from me. So this is something that student veterans who came before you have asked for, and then in the feedback loop have said this was good, and we want to start right away with connecting with these folks to get everything going. So with that said, I want to introduce the very next person that you should know, and this is our faculty advisor for the Student Veterans of William & Mary, Larry Wilkerson. Larry has been right by the student veterans side since before I got here in 2015. So I think there is no better person to introduce you guys to William & Mary from the faculty side. And I can share that he's given me great guidance down to the granular level of which breakfast is best, and we gotta get this fixed. So that is my commitment to you, is I owe you a breakfast burrito. I owe everybody a breakfast burrito, but certainly Larry Wilkerson. So yeah, if you would like to take it away, Colonel Wilkerson.
Thank you, Charlie, and I'll hold you to that.
I know you will.
Welcome to all the new student veterans. It's been a long time for Charlie and me. I've been at William & Mary now 16 years. And we have built a program now, I think, that really is outstanding. And you're going to hear from some of the outstanding people who make it that way at William & Mary. I know what your first mission is. Your first mission, and maybe your only mission, is to get an education. And you've come to a campus where the education you're going to acquire, whatever discipline it might be in, is going to be exemplary. So that means you're going to have a foot up, a leg up, maybe even a whole body up on the job market. And that's probably your second thought, is what do I do now? What kind of a position can I get? What kind of a good job can I get, and so forth? We're here to help you with all of that. I have to tell you, in all honesty, that I'm 76 now, and I may not be here next year. It's just a matter of personal preference. But as I am here, and I certainly will be here this fall, I'm supposed to teach on campus this fall. I will be at your beck and call whenever you need me. I live in Washington. I drive down every week to teach. I do that because I'm in the government department. If I keep my foot in Washington, I keep my foot in government, real government, not theory, real government. So that's why I do that. But I'm available now because of COVID-19, of course. I'm available on Zoom anytime, 24/7. All you have to do is let Charlie know or me know. I'm in the directory, of course, and I'll be glad to talk to you on whatever issues you want to talk about. I'm talking with one of my former veterans right now on Zoom about some things he's doing in New York. He's a little unhappy with his position there. He wants to move to some other position, and I'm trying to help him with that. So I'm here to do that sort of thing for you, just as Charlie is. Charlie is a jewel. I can tell him that to his face. He will be there for you 24/7. He is the man on campus to take care of any challenge or any problem you encounter, or just to call you in and shoot the dude, you know, talk, whatever. I know it's difficult in this environment. I just watched the 5 mandatory COVID-19 videos that William & Mary is requiring all professors, staff, faculty, and I think students too, eventually, to watch. You know, a typical military guy, I said, they're going to tell me about what I need to do and so forth. These are superb videos. And the bottom line of those videos is we are a community. We take care of each other. And I love the way they emphasize the things we have to do. I'm in Virginia all the time. I encounter people every time my wife and I go out walking or we go to the grocery store or whatever, who are disregarding the rules that William & Mary is putting in place. These people are thoughtless. They're absolutely thoughtless. That's not going to happen on our campus. We're going to take care of each other. And that's what Charlie's all about. That's what I'm all about. That's what all these people are all about with regard to you. We want to take care of you. We want to do what needs to be done to make your getting the education you want as simple and easy as possible, knowing that William & Mary has pretty high academic standards, and to make sure that you're well placed when you leave the university. And we'll ask only one thing of you, really, that's to help us get more veterans, because we want to increase the veteran community on the campus. So with that, I'll turn it over to the rest of the people and tell you that I'm in Tyler 423, the 4th floor of Tyler Hall. I doubt that I'll be there too much because of all the restrictions put on us because of COVID-19, but I'm always available, as I said, via Zoom. We have a contract with Zoom, the university does, and as Charlie's doing right now, we can talk anytime. So just let me know, 703-624-9148. I'll say that again, 703-624-9148 is my cell phone. It's never very far from me. I wish you all the best of luck on campus, and I wish you all a great academic experience. Thank you.
Thanks, Colonel W. And you're on the mailing list for everybody, so the student veteran mailing list. So like he said, we've got a lot of ways to get in touch with him in case you didn't have a chance to write down his personal cell phone number, which is not for other students. So that's a nice benefit too. Next up, I'm going to introduce Harvey Langholtz. Harvey's retired Coast Guard officer and a psychology professor who decided to help out the student veterans with academic advising, which we'd never had before. So all of a sudden, we had a volunteer professor who was himself a veteran, and we were super excited to have him. And I understand that you guys have already been advised a little bit too, and that's great. But any extra advising, we have somebody who is just dedicated to the community, which we really appreciate. So I will turn it over to you, Harvey.
Thanks, Charlie. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Lauren. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Phil. Good morning, everybody. Good to see everybody. So welcome. As Charlie has indicated, yes, I'm on the faculty here, retired after 23 excellent years in the U.S. Coast Guard. I'm in the Department of Psychology. My courses are cross-listed though in psych and business, and I teach decision theory. So I'm sure you will find a warm welcome from President Rowe on down. The administration is for you. This is a welcoming campus, and I know that you will find that in your interactions with faculty, staff, and everybody else. And let me also say congratulations to Charlie Foster and others for ensuring our vets are looked out for. Yes, it's true what Colonel Larry Wilkerson has said. We look out for you, and we're glad to have you here. My only correction, I know we have this bring your own brunch, and we're going to have a burrito. Saying every year, creamed beef on toast. That's what should be served. Never mind the burritos. So the veterans, okay, you've ignored me for years on that, but we'll try and get through it. So William & Mary is known as a university with high academic standards. And you have been accepted here for one reason, and that is because you deserve to be here. You belong here, period. Your military experience will put you ahead of other students here. Your sense of self-discipline, focus, maturity, this will all equip you very well for success here. But this is a unique year, of course, with COVID. Everybody's adjusting to this. Some classes are in the classroom, some classes are online. But even there, my experience has been military people are accustomed to online learning. Each military service has its own distance learning program. I could rattle them off. The Army Correspondence Course program is located not too far from here in Tradoc, Fort Eustis, and Fort Monroe. Navy's in Pensacola, Marine Corps in 8th and I in Washington, D.C. is actually the Navy Yards, and the Air Force is Montgomery, Alabama. So you already know about this. You're already accustomed to this idea of distance learning. This might be the new normal for everybody else, but for veterans, this is normal. You're familiar with this. Don't be concerned if your first semester presents some academic challenges. Just be ready for that. Don't be discouraged, especially in terms of exam scores. You will have next to you in class or on the other computer very recent graduates from the best high schools in the state of Virginia, from the US and around the world. They have been doing this for years. I refer to them as little test-taking machines, and I don't mean that in a pejorative or critical way. They're just good at it. Believe me, I'm a professor. Sometimes I teach class. I didn't understand it myself when I taught it. I probably couldn't pass my own exam, and yet students do get it. So they know how to take tests. This is a skill that you will acquire over time. So don't be discouraged if the grades don't come immediately. They will over time. Some tips for studying. Attend or watch every class, do all the readings. Pay attention when the professor seems to emphasize certain important points. Those are probably going to show up on the exams. So focus on those. Try and ask yourself the question, what is important here? And you have to sort of do that at two levels. On the one hand, You have to get it at the broad level, and you also have to get it at the detailed level. But ask yourself that question: what does the professor emphasize? What have we talked about here? What is important? And go into the exam having done all that. It's also good sometimes to study with other students, just to see what other people, how they look at it. There are plenty of other tips for studying. I won't go through more and more, but I think you get the idea. One other point, thanks Charlie for pointing out that I'm happy to serve as an academic advisor. Yes, I am. Some of you may have been assigned to me already as your official academic advisor. That's fine. I look forward to speaking with you. But some of you may have had another academic advisor. Okay, if you haven't already met with them yesterday or today, you will by today or tomorrow. Pay attention to what they say in terms of what's required, the progression of courses, what to take, how many credits, what's open. This can get a little complicated. Look in degree works and work with your academic advisor to get this down. Don't be surprised if this is confusing at first. There's a lot to it. How many credits for this? What's your major? And it can get even more complicated with veterans because you bring credits in. So work with your academic advisor on that. A couple of last points. On the one hand, yes, get your feet on the ground now in terms of your first year, getting your classes down, but also look ahead in terms of future opportunities, internships, scholarships, graduate school, medical school, law school. Yes, you have to attend to what's immediately in front of you, but also take the long view as to what other opportunities will be there further out in the future. And when that day comes, you will have strengths that other people simply don't have. You will have two things. You will be a veteran and you'll be a graduate of the College of William & Mary. And that will put you in very good stead for the future. So thanks for giving me this opportunity. My email is available. You can look me up, Harvey Langholtz. Let me also give you my cell phone number if I can be helpful in any way, 757-876-2800. I'm happy to welcome you. I'm happy to be a part of your experience here at William & Mary. Please let me know if I can do anything for you, my fellow veteran. Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks, Harvey. And of course, I am taking your note about the breakfast options. So we're getting some really good feedback right away, and we're going to improve this sucker for the next semester for absolute sure. Okay, so next up, we've got the president of the Student Veterans of William & Mary, Phill Sheldon. So Phill is a senior. He is the president of the Student Veterans Group, the official recognized group on campus. And Phill and I are going to test the damn share screen thing. So Phill, can you do it now, or do I still got to hit a button?
Yeah, let me try.
I'm going to compliment your snazzy new webcam also. It looks great.
Thank you. Yeah, I also need host privileges.
Okay, so to share screen, let's see. So I go to Phill, more, make co-host. How about now?
All right. Go to the PowerPoint here.
Beautiful.
All right, so first off, I just want to thank Charlie and Lauren for setting this up today, and all of the new faculty and staff that are able to join us today. And most importantly, all of the new student veterans that are able, have been accepted to William & Mary and are choosing to come this fall. So this presentation is for you all. So as Charlie said, I am the president of the Student Veterans Organization on campus. And so we are an organization comprised of about approximately 45 student veterans from across all branches of the military, with notable exception of the Space Force. We don't currently have any veterans from the Space Force, but we do have veterans from all branches of the military here. So we host meetings approximately once a month. So this semester, we're unfortunately unable to host any physical meetings per student leadership development, but we're going to be hosting it on Zoom, much like we are right now. So our first meeting will be on August 31st, as you'll see in a follow-up email from me, or you might have already seen. So I've already set up this short PowerPoint to kind of elucidate maybe some uncertainties that you might have, or perhaps just kind of show more just to show a more in-depth look in our organization from a more visual perspective. So here I have some bullet points about how our group is important on campus and why it might be important to you. I'd like to share a short story of mine. When I first came to William & Mary, our current chief of staff, Mike, was in our same transfer cohort. And he quite fondly remembers me saying, I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to be active in the Student Veterans Organization. I really wanted to focus on my academics, but I thought in the back of my head, I'll go to a meeting, go to a couple meetings, why not, and see, if I can find some value in it. So I started going to meetings. I went to all of our fall meetings, and I had an internship at the State Department afterwards. But I found a lot of value and purpose in being part of the Student Veterans Organization, and eventually I decided to run for it. So regardless whether you are currently in the Zoom or you might know some veterans who might not be participating in the Zoom today, I hope maybe you'll consider coming out to a couple of our meetings and just seeing what we're about. And so some of these points I'll kind of go a little bit more into in the following slides, specifically resume building and networking. But what I've found most value in is really the camaraderie. So linking up with other veterans, being able to say go to the gym together, playing some games together. So really harmless things. I'll talk a little bit more about the events that we have as I progress through the PowerPoint here. So networking, we accomplish through several different avenues. You're probably wondering who's that gentleman on the left. That is General Petraeus. And so one organization that we are a part of since April 2019 is the Ivy League Veterans Council. And so the reason why I have General Petraeus here is that we invited him to speak as part of the Ivy League Veterans Council speaker series. So, so he will be speaking to the veterans that are part of ILVC, which includes William & Mary this fall. In addition to General Petraeus, we're also going to be doing something very similar with our own organization. And so we've invited a foreign service officer. We've invited a government consultant from Deloitte right now, which will be coming to our Zoom sessions on campus and speaking about some of the opportunities that they have at their organization. So we're always looking to broaden them out. So if you have an idea, maybe if you're going into STEM, for instance, or if you're going into a different field with your government degree, feel free to email me with some suggestions. So we also have some other avenues that we do networking. So we have a Tribe 1775 network where we do our alumni engagement on LinkedIn. Just a reminder for everyone, if you may not know already, but veterans do receive a free year of LinkedIn Pro, which is really a fantastic way to get started with LinkedIn, in my opinion. And so Tribe 1775 network is really a good avenue to get all of that started. So a lot of our veterans have gone on and become really successful in the private and the public sector, as I previously mentioned with some of the speakers that we have. And so those are really going to be some of the folks that you're going to see on the Tribe 1775 network. So we also do have social media. We do have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, which I manage all fervently. So you can see all of us on our platforms, which I'd be more than happy to share with all of you. So the Ivy League Veterans Council, I previously mentioned in the slide that we are a member of them, but we were originally supposed to host the conference itself on March 31st of this year, but a coronavirus unfortunately put a stop to those plans. So we are going to be virtually hosting that on October 3rd. And so we do have several speakers lined up for that event. So that'll be on October 3rd for about 4 hours in the afternoon. And so we usually have about council meetings twice a year. And so that gives an opportunity for key student veterans to travel to other institutions. And so the other members, they include all of the Ivy Leagues, but will also include University of Chicago and Stanford. So you have the opportunity to really go to any Ivy League plus Stanford or U Chicago. I myself have gone to Dartmouth and Princeton, and so I found that a very enlightening and illuminating experience. So I hope you'll consider our group and potentially the experience of going to some of these institutions and networking with those other veterans. So some of the other things that the council does provide us is that we do get internship opportunities from Microsoft and Google quite routinely shared with us. So that is another bonus if you are going to be in any STEM field or in business analytics. If you're going to be at the business school, those are typically opportunities that are also, when you see these Microsoft, Google internships. They're pretty wide in their selectivity. So you could be a business analytics major and you might have experience with coding, for instance. And then finally, on the last bullet point, so the orientation guide that you all received was actually a student veteran initiative on our campus, and that was actually adopted by other Ivy League institutions. And Charlie himself is also a close partner with Columbia University. So this is something that we broaden out. So we give these opportunities to our veterans on our campus, but we're willing to work with others as well. So these are some of the events that we typically hold. Of course, this is a supposition on my part in that, next semester or in the fall, everything will be back to normal. I can be hopeful, but this is typically the events that we would be holding this fall. So we do actually hold Green Zone training. So if you're unaware of Green Zone training, that is going to be our faculty and staff training that we do with usually a panel of 3 student veterans. And we always try to include new student veterans. So if you've been on campus for usually a semester, we'll go ahead and invite you to the next Green Zone training. And so this gives you an opportunity to share some of the stories that you might have had in the military. We have a wide range of panelists, so it's not necessarily, I myself was an infantryman, but we do have folks that have served in the Air Force, the Navy, the Army, have been all panelists. And so we do try to have a wide range so faculty and staff get a really in-depth look into all those experiences. So this would be one example of really the physical event we were unfortunate to hold, but the Tri-Military 5K Colonial Warrior Challenge is an initiative that we do with ROTC every year. So we are a close partner with the ROTC on campus, and I always try to make it out to their commissioning every year. I can go this year for obvious reasons, but we always try to hold that once a year. So the 5K we would have been in Matoka Woods. So this year we would also have done a social during homecoming, which will most likely start again, fingers crossed, next year. And so we have our alumni network, as I mentioned, is Tribe 1775, but the Alumni Association of 1775 is the alumni component. So those are folks that have served in ROTC, student veterans that have gone on to work in the public sector, which now includes citizens, I believe, that haven't served in the military but do work in government. So they kind of broadened that out in recent years. And then so lastly, we're going to be also forming a new hiking initiative with the Tribe Adventure Program. So that is a program with the Student Rec Center. And so that allows student veterans to go on a retreat in Northwest Virginia, completely free of charge. They'll give us the equipment, the van, completely free of charge. We're able to go out for one weekend and just relax. We don't have to worry about that, worry about our studies, for instance. So that's something that I'm currently working on right now. So the support network are some of the really the branches that we have to support student veterans as a part of our organization. So for instance, this orientation was really an initiative from one of our previous presidents, Corey York, and he really created the seed for the success of this. And this year is particularly unique in that we have the sponsorship program. And so I want to give a huge thanks to Mike Martinez, who's here today, as well as Professor Langholtz, who worked on that really hard to make that program work, as well as all the sponsors and you, of course, for participating in it if you did. And so what we're all looking at here on the left-hand side is an Excel sheet that Anthony Ventura created. And so while initially it may seem a little daunting, it does compile all of the different resources that we have for veterans on campus. So whether it's calculating your monthly housing allowance, how many credits do I have left in William & Mary in order to graduate, how many hours do I have left with the VA. So that will conglomerate all of that resources into a simple to use Excel sheet. And so Anthony's still working on it really hard, but those are really something that our student veteran led initiatives. So I'm really proud to support. And then lastly, of course, we have our faculty advisor. So Professor Wilkerson is always going to support student veterans. I can attest to that. He's been a longtime advocate of ours, and Professor Langholtz. So they're both they're both always working with student veterans and willing to be your advisor. So I hope you'll consider them this fall. So the other thing that we created last year, perhaps a little bit fortuitous, was a Google Drive. So this, sort of like the Excel sheet, it compiles a lot of the different resources that we have on campus. So most notably, we work quite frequently with the Cohen Career Center, and I'm trying to include more resources from them as well as the VA. And so you'll see some stuff in there that I put in recently, like a new federal resume. So that'll be the most up-to-date resume that a lot of federal government agencies are using, as well as consulting firms. So if you're looking for the most up-to-date one, put that in there in the Google Drive. But of course, it doesn't necessarily replace going to the Cohen Career Center and asking for advice with a resume or your professor. So they'll be able to give you similar advice. And of course, I don't want to take any thunder away from Accommodations, but she'll of course go a little bit more in depth into the Cohen Career Center right after me as well too. So we've really started to expand the Google Drive a lot to include more resources. So we understand that everything's going to be virtual, and so that's why we're really trying hard to expand the Google Drive by including more things in there. So the last thing I wanted to really touch on were the elections. We have 4 positions. We have the president, vice president, chief of staff, and treasurer, which are all uniquely important. There's really, with the exception of the treasurer, there's really no task that's really limited to specific position. What I mean by that is a president isn't always going to be working on one thing. A vice president is not always going to be working on, say, the internal structure of things. So we kind of really leave that up to the individual person. We do have guidelines as to what each person should do, but we always try and support one another. And so if a president gets really overloaded or a vice president gets overloaded, we all try and share the tasks. This is perhaps the best way to really advocate for veterans on campus. Like I told you all in the beginning, I didn't really know if I wanted to be active with student veterans, but I think volunteering to run for president was perhaps one of the best things that I ever did. It's been a huge privilege of mine to do it. I know that Mike Martinez, who's the chief of staff, who's in here as well, and our vice president, Anthony Brachura, our treasurer, Chuck, also really got a whole lot of value and purpose in it. So I can really attest that it does add a lot, not only to your own purpose, but also it's also a really great resume builder as well too. So you can really start nominating yourself until September 12th, and then we are going to have our elections on October 12th. They're all independent, so Charlie Fox is going to be the one calculating the votes, and yeah. So if you ever have any questions, I'm going to leave my email in the chat. If you are going to consider being a part of Student Veterans of William & Mary, go ahead and just email me, private message me. Like I said, even if you're kind of on the fence about it, then maybe I consider you trying and maybe coming out to 1 or 2 of our meetings and really just seeing what we're about. But again, I want to thank you all for coming to this session today, and I really do hope you learned something new today. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Phill. Phill is much too humble to say, but he couldn't be any more dedicated and committed to helping student veterans, helping his fellow student veterans, whether that means answering questions on the group me that about when the gym is going to open, all the way up to doing presentations for the president of Women Married for the Board of Visitors. He's met with retired generals out in town. So Phill is very committed, and I certainly appreciate everything that he does. And I hope you will use him as an outstanding resource with any questions that you've got. So next up on our agenda is the one and only Tonya Nations. She's our outstanding point of contact that we have over at the Cohen Career Center, just like Phill said. She is a friend to student veterans and one of our very first folks to step up when I put out the call when my office opened last year. So I said to all of student affairs, so this is 200 faculty and staff, I said, does anybody want to be the representative from their office? And Tonya was like, you already know that I'm it for Cohen Career Center. And she arranged a green zone just for Cohen. So now everybody over in that building has been spun up at least a little bit, at least with an introduction to military culture. And that's just Tonya's doing. So we really appreciate her. And now I made you co-host, Tonya, so I think that you can share now, but we'll test it out.
That's good. Yeah, I'll have a couple of things to share. Thank you for that introduction. Yes, I'm honored to be your point of contact in Cohen Career Center. just so you know where we're located on campus, because we are doing in-person advising for limited times every day. That's going to be right next to the Sadler Center. So if you've had a chance to visit Sadler, or you know where that is, also if you know where Zabel Stadium is, we're right next, we're between the two, Sadler and Zabel. Thank you for the introduction about my staff. We're in a much better position this year. We have 6 dedicated career advisors. Counting myself, that makes 7 for students, period. What a lot of people don't know is that we pretty much divide our work by industries. So regardless of your major, you can go to that industry advisor to get specialized help. And just a bit about my background, I've got 23 years in the business. I did work at a private institution, very rigorous academic program prior to coming to William & Mary. So I've got a lot of unique experience to draw from, and can help just about anyone that has come my way. And I think I've proven if I can't, I'll find out how. So that's where I come from. I wanted to give a nod to the new folks. Let's make sure I've got their names, because I'd like to follow it through email once we're done, if I may. That's going to be Trinity Brea. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Sorry, I'm not good with technology. My last name's B.
B, sorry, I put an R in there, I apologize. Trinity B, that's nice. Corey Obermeyer, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you are new, very good, welcome. Chase Stanga.
You got it.
All right, very good, we're getting better. Shijun Zhang.
Yes, that's correct, ma'am.
All right, awesome, okay. So welcome again. I've got an activity for us in just a moment. But I wanted to share something that's a bit deep, but it kind of gives you an idea of the underpinnings of the field that I work in. My GA that graduated recently, class of 2020, shared with me a book called Authoring Your Life. And a lot of the work that we do in the Cohen Career Center actually helps you tell your story. So I think this is very appropriate. You'll do it in several different ways. You can talk to our frequent flyers. You see Paul Brinkus there, Philip Sheldon. You've got Chuck Williamson to draw upon, recent graduate Hunter Stackhouse. They can talk to you about getting help from us, that they've done it in a variety of ways, and you can boil it down to a way to tell your story, from the resume to the graduate application and more. But this little excerpt, it's very short, I think is very appropriate for this day and time. It talks about how we live at a hinge time in history. Hinge. Threshold time when societies and cultures are being recomposed. We are learning that the way life used to work, or the way we thought it should, doesn't work any longer. The 20-something years are among the primary hinge moments in the human lifespan. A time when a person may be recomposed. When you are between the ages of roughly 18 and 32, not going to ask your age, but I'm guessing the 4 new folks are between that age range. No longer a child or adolescent and moving into your adult years, it may become more and more apparent that life, specifically your life, is not unfolding as you assumed. And it goes on to talk about decision making and how it's a very a time for responsibility, taking responsibility for decision making. And that's one of the areas of expertise in which I assist with career advising, career counseling as it was formerly known. And I welcome to have those conversations with you. Sometimes that's all you need is a conversation rather than a service. Okay, so get out of the heavy stuff and we'll get into something a little more light. I'm going to provide an encore activity, something that's interactive for you. I'd like you to take a moment and look at your thumb, of all things, your thumb, okay? Just bear with me, we're gonna get creative. Get your mind moving in this direction, this hemisphere of your brain. Now look at your thumb and think about your resume, right? Isn't that what most people think when they think a career center? They think resume. So I want you to look for a moment and open your mics and let me know what a thumb, your thumb, and a resume have in common. Three, I'm looking for 3 answers, and then I'll bring the screen up and share with you. Anything goes. What about your thumb is like a resume? Trinity, you got something for me? Are you trying to get off mute?
Not yet.
Not yet. Chase, you got anything?
It's not very pretty.
Your thumb's up. Hey, if it were manicured now, would that be prettier?
I'd imagine so.
All right, we'll go with that one. Your thumb, when manicured, is very neat and tidy, and that's what you want in your resume. You want a neat, tidy, easy to read look. All right, thank you, Chase. You got us going. Hey, Corey, you got one for me?
Yeah, it can be pretty useful.
Oh, it is, isn't it? Like grasping something, right? Otherwise, we'd have to use our 4 fingers and it gets awkward. So grasping it, and sometimes that's necessary to be able to grasp something to use it. Therefore, a resume like your thumb becomes necessary in such things as the job search and applications. Very good. All right, one more. Trinity, Shijun, you want to venture out and take a guess of how they might be alike?
I could move it.
That's right. It's bendable and flexible and that sort of thing. And your resume should be the same. You should be able to edit it in a way that it's flexible according to what you're applying to. So let's share that screen. And by the way, AAEE, let me find it here. Just a moment. I promise I can do this. Yeah, I got to pull it up first, don't I? AAEE decided to publish this, which was a very big honor. Let's go. There we go. And so consider the thumb, a quick overview of resume basics. So do you get the idea that your thumbprint is unique? Your resume should be the same, not cookie cutter. That's something we believe in the Cohen Career Center. Like your thumb, it's connected to the rest of your hand. You should use language. This is where a lot of student veterans need help to connect the language of where they've been to the language of where they hope to be. And you can do that all throughout your college career when you apply to internships, when you apply to scholarships, when you apply to research positions. It's shorter than the rest of the fingers, so therefore your resume, short, concise, just the facts. You're not telling a fairy tale with lots of adjectives and things, but very, very strategic. We got the bendable, the movable already. It stands out. You want your resume to stand out in a good way to separate you from the other candidates. It's 3-dimensional, and it can be 3-dimensional even though it's a document by showing different pieces of who you are. Please do not be ashamed of that military experience. It adds another dimension as to who you are, your leadership, your different types of skills, your teamwork. It's deep, it's very deep and very desirable by employers. You can give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, so you can communicate with your thumb in that way to make a positive or negative impression, and we definitely want to make a positive impression. It can be used to hitchhike. In Virginia, you see those signs as you're getting on the interstate, with a line through it, no hitchhiking. But like a hitchhiker, your resume can take you to the next level, to your next destination. It can be competitive, like in thumb wrestling, and that's what it's supposed to be. You're doing things in your life and you're recording them on a resume to share with others to show how you're prepared, how you're competent and ready for the next challenge. And make good use of space. And we already talked about the manicured thumb. So I'll stop there. I don't want to use up my time, but I'd like to end our session today with an invitation, and I'll send this to you. Number one, I'd like to invite those who have an unseen or seen disability to think about the WRP. It's the Workforce Recruitment Program with the federal government and private corporations. It's about to launch in August. It'll stay up until mid-October, and it's an opportunity for you to sign up and have a summer activity, an internship, if you will. And for those who are ready to graduate, it's also for employment. I'd like you to think about logging in to the Cohen Career Center's portal called Tribe Careers. You can find it on our homepage, Cohen Career Center. It's wm.edu/career. And if you can't find it, let me know. But I'd like you to sign up for your industry newsletter. Whatever industry you're interested in right now, I'd like you to sign up for it. And it's different than Career Conversations, which you all get already. I'd like you to visit the ONET. And like I said, I'll put this in an email to you. It actually has a translation piece to help you translate your military experiences for civilian experiences. And then last but not least, I'd like you to visit me. I've set aside every Wednesday beginning August 26th, every Wednesday at 5 p.m., 5 to 6 Eastern Time, from August 26th to Veterans Day, 11/11, Wednesdays on Zoom. I'll give that to Charlie and Devontae. Hello, Devontae. And make sure that you join the Zoom link, drop in, ask questions, get some quick advice. Talk to me. It's a group session, so be prepared for other people to drop in, but usually when I'm helping others, you help each other, which is a beautiful thing. So I'll leave those invitations with you, and I'll turn it back to Charlie, and I'll stick around and see if you have any questions for me after the presentation.
Thank you so much, Tonya. You know, I admire the thumb analogy so much. So I am glad to see that published. You know, I've tried to recreate it to terrible effect myself. So thank you for publishing that sucker so I can just share it, share the link. But yeah, Tonya is there to help you from starting now, plan on having an easy career transition. That's something that other folks have said has been difficult for them. I think this is a work smarter, not harder situation. We've got pros over there in the Career Center who can help us, and that's what they want to do. That's what Tonya wants to do. She's setting aside that time just for us. So I really appreciate that. So now I am going to share a video. So we have a video coming in. It is from our friends over in the Office of Student Accessibility Services. So basically, Lesley Henderson is the director. She has been a great friend to veterans since veterans actually do use that office, we know, because of, like Tonya mentioned, invisible disabilities. So anybody with any disability rating wants to roger up with Lesley as early as possible to go ahead and get any accommodations set up ahead of time before they start working with their professors. But I will let Lesley, it took me that long to find the damn thing to share, but I did. So I am going to let Lesley take it from here.
Hi everyone, I'm Lesley Henderson. I'm the Associate Dean of Students and the Director of Student Accessibility Services within the Dean of Students office. I'm super excited to welcome you to William & Mary. I'm really glad you're here. I value our military veterans. And so thank you so much for choosing William & Mary, and we hope that you have a great time and a great journey here. So today I'm going to talk about some of the resources available for military veterans, maybe not exclusively, but possibly for some of students who may need to access our services. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Within our office, I work with Anna Whiston and Courtney McMasters. They are a coordinator and a graduate assistant, respectively. And we are located in the campus center, which is located on the corner of Jamestown Road. It's also the place where you get your tribe ID or your tribe card services, and home of the Marketplace, which is allegedly one of the better dining locations on campus. This fall, we are available by Zoom and phone appointments. We will see what the spring brings, but at this point, we are taking remote appointments. If you need a space to meet privately with one of us, say either, home is not the best place to have a meeting, or maybe you're sharing a room or an apartment with someone and you need a more private location, we can help you with those arrangements. We have some offices that students can use to connect with us, even virtually or by phone. So just let us know if that's ever the case for you. So what do we do? As consistent with the Americans with Disabilities Act, we provide equitable access to the educational environment for students who have diagnosed conditions that may present as disabilities or barriers when they intersect with the educational environment. Basically, if you have a diagnosed condition that gets in the way of your learning or ability to get to locations on campus or live on campus healthfully, we help figure out some additional accommodations so that you can be successful here at William & Mary, and so that basically the educational environment will allow you to operate as best possible, as long as you can still carry out all the duties of being a student. So the people who this may apply to would include anyone really with a diagnosed condition. Some people are aware that they have a disability. Some people have a diagnosed condition and don't consider themselves disabled. But what is true is that within certain settings, this diagnosed condition may present itself as a disability according to the legal definition of a disability. It could be a physical, medical, or mental health condition. It could be a learning disability, ADHD. And the nature of the diagnosed condition could be temporary or permanent. So we help people who have to have some surgery and go through a recovery period before they're fully functional again. They might need transportation if they have a mobility limitation because of their surgery recovery. So that's one example of a temporary sort of situation that we can accommodate or help accommodate. And then some conditions are visible or readily observant to folks who are walking by. So obviously if you're mobilizing with a wheelchair or crutches, someone might say, oh, clearly they have a challenge, or they probably have a diagnosed condition that impacts their ability to mobilize, as most people do. Or a condition can be invisible, meaning you can't look at someone and tell if they have a learning disability, if they have ADHD, if they have a mental health condition, even if they have a lot of medical conditions, you would not know just by looking at someone. So in fact, 98% of our student population who are registered with Student Accessibility Services have an invisible disability, which means most students do not have a condition that you could look at and say, okay, clearly they have a disability. It's not obvious to the onlooker. Here are some additional examples of diagnosed conditions. I know I've mentioned some already. Diabetes, asthma, Crohn's disease would all fall in chronic health and physical conditions. ADHD, learning disabilities like dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, traumatic brain injury. We definitely have some students who have more long-term impacts and have post-concussive syndrome and continue to receive accommodations years after they've had their traumatic brain injury. Autism and related diagnoses like Asperger's syndrome, which is a former diagnosis, but some people still identify with that diagnosis. Blind or low vision, deaf or hard of hearing. Psychiatric and psychological diagnoses apply. And then, as we said before, mobility impairments would apply. And so what we do when we say accommodations is we come up with ways to basically build a bridge from whatever is lacking for students based on their diagnosed condition in order to access the environment. So a very easy example would be if you break your hand, we can help you get speech to text software so that you can speak into a microphone and the computer software will convert your speech into text if you can't type or can't write. So that's one easy example, but there are others. Probably our most frequently granted accommodations would be related to test accommodations. There are a lot of reasons why sitting down and taking a test in one discrete period of time is not great for a lot of students who have health conditions, whether it's you have to check your blood sugar, if you have diabetes, you need to take breaks to practice coping mechanisms, that sort of thing. There are just a plethora of reasons why it makes sense for some students to have either a separate environment to test in, the ability to take breaks, or additional time built in. because they're managing more than just the taking of the test while they're in the testing environment. We mentioned assistive technology with the software that might help students. We use various softwares for students to overcome some diagnosed condition-based difficulties so that students can still access their education. Recording lectures would be an example of one that students would have permission for based on a disability. Having computers might be another. So yeah, we get creative when we need to. We also have what's called the Watson Testing Center within our office. It's a space that is for students with ADA accommodations to take tests so that they can manage their accommodations. Professors can do this too, but a lot of times students and or professors might say, you know, it makes sense for you to use the Watson Testing Center this time. And so we welcome students to come take their tests with us if they need to. This semester, our testing center is pretty small. It seats about 8 to 9 students max. And with the physical distancing that's required this semester, we're going to have to really limit how many people we have in the testing center, probably no more than 2 with a proctor at a time. That said, we are making plans to do video proctoring with students as needed to kind of overcome some of the physical limitations we have of the space. So we're working all this out, and we'll have some plans if you do need proctoring that your professor can accomplish with you. And then we also have housing accommodations. So some students need special features, wheelchair accessible rooms or special equipment within their rooms to like, you know, I think we have bed shakers for students who are hearing impaired and don't hear the fire alarms go off. We have various sorts of things to help them know that there's an emergency situation. Some students need to be on the ground level floor or might need a single room for their condition. That's usually, that's a frequently asked accommodation is a single room if you're living on campus. We don't have many of them though, so we have to really think critically about who would be the best or the most eligible for those spots. We also want to make sure that students have access to transportation. So we partner with Parking and Transportation to provide the limited mobility shuttle service, which usually looks like golf carts. So they kind of drive students around based on a schedule that they provide if they have a mobility limitation. They, meaning Parking and Transportation Services staff, will drive students around who have this ADA accommodation. We also have some temporary disability parking, restricted parking for medical reasons. So these are all things that we can help students with. If you have questions about having more access based on your transportation needs, then it would be good to come talk to us. We also spend a lot of time working with partners both in the college or in the university and in the community to make sure we know what the resources are and to get students hooked up to resources. So we really consider ourselves kind of like a conduit of resources. So students can really come to us for anything, even if it's just a question about enrollment or dropping a class or studying abroad. Like, we can talk to students about a lot of things, and if we're not the expert in that area, of course, we'll get students connected with the best person, but we are here to help you with everything beyond simply ADA accommodations in the Dean of Students office. And really what we're trying to do is make sure that students have the access they need to the educational environment. This is an example I really like to use. In these 3 pictures, the first one shows 3 people, they're all using the same resource, or maybe they have the same syllabi and are abiding by the same rules. And you can see that the third person on the end cannot see the playing field or the educational environment, to draw out the analogy. And then the second image shows the same 3 students, only the third student pictured, or third person pictured, is given the accommodations they need, and the second one as well, I guess, so that everybody, though the treatment of everyone may not be the same, people are given what they need in order to see the playing field. And then the third example is really what we want everyone to be thinking about, and that's designing environments and designing instruction and education so that everyone can access it and they don't need accommodations. So thinking critically about how to design spaces, educational environments so that students can access it the gold standard. But until then, we will help with accommodations. We talked a bit about the limited mobility shuttle service, which really operates during the main day school hours, so usually about 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, maybe a 15-minute span outside of that too, Monday through Friday. If you need something beyond that, I would talk to Parking and Transportation. They may be able to accommodate. So how do you work with SAS, or how do you get kind of known by us or get accommodations? The first step is self-registration. And we do, if you go to the www.wm.edu/SAS, the steps are listed there in one of the menu items, but we have a self-registration form, which is where you go online and say, hi, this is my name, my relevant information, including my diagnosed conditions. Here's how it impacts me. Here's what I'm requesting. If you know, and if you don't know, that's fine too. We can help you talk through that and see, like, where are you having difficulties in the educational environment? What do you need help with? And we can go from there. We also do ask for some documentation. I do want to say that we know that in the military it is often difficult to get documentation from the VA, and so please know that we will work with you. Sometimes we'll take whatever you have rather than send you back to the doctor to get a special form completed, or we'll just work with you until you're able to get your materials. We don't want the documentation process to be a barrier to getting what you need. We then ask that you meet with us, again, virtually or by phone for this semester. Usually we meet in person, but this time we're going to do things virtually or by phone. And then the outcome can be an ADA accommodation or accommodation letter, which can go to whoever needs to know. So if it's a faculty member or professor, it'll go to them. If it's housing, it goes to them. If it's parking and transportation, we send it to them. So basically we're saying these are the things the student needs to overcome the barrier. We don't discuss or disclose the nature of your diagnosed condition. So we don't say, oh, they have ADHD, so they need extra time on their test. That is your confidential medical information, and we do not share that with anyone. So we just say, this student has been to our office, they have met qualifications for these accommodations. Boom, boom, boom. Let us know if you have any questions. We do ask students to talk with each professor at the beginning of each semester and to make sure that they've indicated to SAS through renewing or through a renewal process that you're here this semester, you want your accommodations again, and then we notice them to professors. Also want to let you know that if you're ever walking around campus and you see there is an art installation that's blocking a path or something, or there are sandbags that are blocking the ramp for the disability access, then please let us know. We have a form if you go into the search box on the William & Mary website and write report a barrier concern or barrier concern, maybe just the word barrier, you could then come up with this form which allows you to let us know what's going on. And this form is super. Like, I personally use this form to make sure that whatever I find out is a barrier, this goes to all the top people right away. So there's not like a way to figure out like, well, who do I ask about this? And well, let me call one person and then they'll give me to somebody else and they'll give me to somebody else. This gets right to the right people all at the same time on the other end of this form. So highly recommend it. Thank you for helping our community by letting us know when there are barrier concerns in our community. Wanted to talk just a quick moment. You may have heard about it before already in orientation, but we do have a way that we also take care of each other, William & Mary, through the care report system. So what we do is the students or whoever is in the system can go in and click who they're reporting as. So a student could report another student who is having difficulties or showing concerning behaviors. Professors can go in as faculty or staff. And we do definitely get reports from parents saying like, my student hasn't called me in 2 weeks, or I'm really concerned about my son because of their erratic behavior lately. And, I just want someone to check in on them. And so what happens is these concerns are triaged to our, not just the SAS office, but to everyone in the Dean of Students office. There's quite a few staff members who work there. They try to triage them so that the people who are most appropriate to receive the report, like if it is about a disability, it would probably come to someone in SAS, but it could really go to anybody. And we will reach out and see if there's something we can do to help, or see if there's something we need to do immediately to help someone. Sometimes people think, oh, you care reported me that, you know, blah, blah, like it's some sort of punishment or vindictive thing. You know, probably 999 times out of 1,000 times when people care report someone, it's because they're actually concerned about them, not because they're being vindictive. And I can say that these care reports have saved lives. So I'm grateful personally to know that they exist. It's comforting for me to know that when students come to university, there is a system for us to take care of each other and say, hey, like my roommate can't get out of bed, or I know so-and-so just had a parent die and they're really struggling right now. Could somebody reach out to them and make sure they're okay? So these are the sorts of things that, we certainly want community, William & Mary and around to let us know, and so that we can check in and make sure students are getting what they need. Ooh, I want to talk about the workforce recruitment program. So SAS partners with the Cohen Career Center for the workforce recruitment program, and it is a recruitment and referral program through the U.S. Department of Labor. It's a combination of the Office of Disability Employment Policy, ODEP, and the U.S. Department of Defense's Office of Diversity Management and Equal Opportunity. So they are actually seeking students or recent graduates who have a diagnosed condition or disability, and they want to give these students like first crack at getting jobs. So basically you're getting a leg up and getting a job, usually in the federal field, working for the federal government, but increasingly for the private sector too, as folks realize the value of diversity and how people with disabilities can often offer just as much, if not more, to a workplace than the average person, so to speak. So registering with this program and following the steps to this program can result in a summer internship. It can result in full-time employment. Just really great, really good way to get your name on a short list of eligible candidates who are already screened and vetted. This then goes to employers who are looking for great candidates. And again, it could be any field really. There is some interviewing that's involved. It's really just one interview with one person, usually over the phone or maybe by Zoom or Skype. We recruit in the fall semester, so we're asking students to sign up and be part of this in the fall, complete their application, do their mock interview, and then your name gets added to a list or a spreadsheet database of eligible candidates for different positions, and then folks just reach out to you and say, wow, we see that you're in geology, and we're looking for some engineering interns this summer, so we really like to talk to you to see if you would be a good fit for us. So here you do have to have a disability or diagnosed condition, and we have like a little easy certification for that. To be registered with SAS, be a U.S. citizen, and be enrolled full-time or graduated within the last year. So even after you graduate, you have a year's worth of time to still take part in this. And if you're out there job hunting, this might help make it much more quick to find a job. We also have scholarships that are available to students and military veterans, for sure. The Jowletts Fund is for SAS registered students. We also include some tutoring money for military veterans and for beneficiaries of the GI Bill. So if you are either looking for a good or service related to your diagnosed condition to kind of help offset that, or if you just need tutoring, and we have a great peer tutoring service here at William & Mary, but you can't afford it or you want to take advantage of what's offered to veterans, we do provide money for that. So please come talk to SAS if that's something that you need, and you can register with us. There's also the Patriots Dream Scholarship. Charlie may know a little bit more about this. It's privately funded, $1,000 for undergraduate veteran, and the applications are available mid-spring. And then the Veterans Student Opportunities Fund is through the Veterans Office. Charlie may also know more about this if he hasn't already told you. And then I have a couple of names for contact folks, Mark Sykes or Drew Stelgis, if you'd like more information about veteran scholarships. Okay, there's also something that's happening with the Call 300. And those who served abroad with the military or who have overseas service that is, a military transcript or some proof of perhaps, may be able to easily meet the Call 300, which usually has to do with some sort of international study. You can contact Ben Boone. He's Associate Director of the Center for Liberal Arts for more information. Charlie may be able to speak to this as well, but hopefully, we know that you've been all over serving for the U.S., and it may be a little redundant to ask you to have another international experience or, learn about a different culture. You have already been immersed in one. So at this point, if you have any questions, I welcome you to let me know. Our email is sas@wm.edu. And again, I'm Lesley Henderson. Thanks so much. We look forward to meeting you. I really hope you have a great experience here and enjoy. Thanks so much.
All right, so we really appreciate Lesley. Sorry that damn thing paused in the middle. Yeah, she has been outstanding to work with. I just want to address a couple of things that she brought up. The Patriot Stream Scholarship, we definitely do through my office, and you probably saw in the PowerPoint. Applications for that are going to go out through in mid-spring. That's something that we definitely know student veterans have won. So this is a real thing. This is not something that does not actually happen. It does happen. And so we really want you to apply for that when that comes out in the middle of the spring. And the Veteran Engagement Fund is something that is kind of a as it's needed type of thing. So that's also through my office. The other thing that she mentioned that, let me think. Was there one more thing that she said towards the end that she teed me up on? One thing I'll definitely say is use her office, register her office at the beginning so that you get the accommodations through the end. That is, so just if you're on the fence about it, go ahead and register with her. It's definitely something that that is going to benefit you in case something happens later on, or in case you determine that you do need special accommodations later. Dozens, if not hundreds, of students across William & use their services. So I think you should too. And we actually have so much buy-in from the Dean of Students that they elected to have a standing monthly meeting with me because they want my take on their policies and procedures because they recognize that they're designed for somebody else. So I really appreciate that. That's where we go with that. So, yeah, I definitely want to field any questions that we have maybe towards the end. But I also want to tee up last, but certainly not least, everybody's favorite because she's the one who keeps the GI Bill going. We've got Carolyn Ward. She is our school certifying official. Carolyn has been so helpful to me. She fields the questions from me, but also from you guys. I am on a listserv with school certifying officials from around the Commonwealth, and I know we've got the best one. As soon as they added me to that listserv, I said, we're lucky here to have Carolyn. So Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us today, and I made you the co-host, so you can take it away.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. I'm going to try to share a PowerPoint, I believe. Let me see if I can do this. I don't know if I need to have...
You know you're going to do better than I just did, so don't you worry.
Okay, so it's screen 1. Can you all see that? Share. Can you see that? Using VA benefits?
Yep, we got it.
Okay, great. Again, I'm Carolyn Ward. I'm the Veterans Benefits Officer. I'm in the University Registrar's office. I'm located in Blow Hall, which is the building across from the Wawa on Richmond Road. Because of COVID-19, our office has been working from home remotely since St. Patrick's Day. However, again, once everything gets settled, you can find me in room 240, which is the University Registrar's office in Blow Hall, and I'm in the office numbers 245. I've got all of you all's contact information, so I hope to email this PowerPoint to you later today. Let me kind of just start, see if we can get this going. Okay. Can you all see that? Topics we'll cover today? Okay, good. So let me just start right here. Okay, so I handle the education benefits for certifying you for the VA. So we're going to kind of go over what you all have already processed, and I think everyone except for one person on this Zoom today has reached out to me to use VA benefits, and I've certified you. Again, we'll go over enrollment certifications, education benefits, payment information, and contact and resource information. So of course, you all know the first steps with the VA is to apply. Again, I'll be sending this PowerPoint to you, so I'm going to go kind of quickly. You always start the process by going directly to the VA at gibill.va.gov. Also, it's very helpful to have their toll-free number, 888-442-4551. Always feel free to reach out to me, but when we can't get something answered or you need more information directly from the VA, that's the number you should reach out to. See here. Some information about COVID-19 updates for military students receiving the veterans benefits or the GI Bill. Want to let you know that due to COVID-19, the VA has, they haven't stopped. We were right, they can be contacted, but they are asking students to ensure that the VA has your current email address on file for the VA. You want to make sure you do that either by calling them at the 888 number or going to ask a question, and you can update your email address by submitting ask a question. The VA is still mailing certificate of eligibility letters and other pertinent information to you, just like they have before. However, they do have certain items that they cannot mail, and they are emailing those to you. But everything has been pretty much seamless since March. Congress and everyone got on right on the ticket, and we had everything seamless and no stopping with anybody's VA benefits because of COVID. Also, there's a temporary release for your GI Bill benefit if you have a debt. So it's important that you see the Department of Veterans Affairs debt release Facebook post, or if you just go to the bottom of www.gibill.va.gov for all VA social media outlets, you can link up to the Facebook, Twitter, there for any latest COVID-19 updates. Also, there's a COVID-19 student FAQs that's important for you to know. I've gotten questions from students asking, because of COVID-19, my classes transitioned from a residence to online. Will that affect my housing? No, if the modality was simply because of COVID-19 reasons and your classes turned from modality from residence to online, you're going to still receive the same housing allowance that you've always received. Again, the VA and Congress put this in place back in March, and it's good until 12/21/20, which is December 21st. That was good news. Now, if you are already an online, say, MBA student or an online student taking a class that was originally online, we do have to report that as an online class. So that would still, you know, that may affect housing there. But again, most of you all, I believe, are undergraduate students, and you're taking residence classes, whether you're taking them at home or you're taking them online on campus, or you're actually physically going to class on campus. Your housing allowance won't be affected. I do have a COVID remarks on some students that I do report that, so it won't cause you any problems. It's important to note, though, other types of changes to your enrollment status, you need to keep abreast and let me know of. It's important. I do have queries that run every 14 to 30 days to make changes. But if you do drop a class or withdraw from a class, that will still have an effect on your payments. So you do want to kind of keep me notified of those. When you go to declare your program, your major, or any other types of changes, we have to report those to the VA. So just keep me notified of those. Again, I'll have queries that will run also with that. So as you all know, the first step, you applied for the benefit using one of these applications, and it will produce a certificate of eligibility. Now that letter is the piece of information that you were to send to me as the Veterans Education Benefits Officer at the college. I need that certificate of eligibility letter. It is not sent directly to the school. It is only sent and usually mailed to the student. And I do prefer for you to send me all of the pages of the certificate of eligibility letter. And again, going back, this is what I need in your William & Mary VA file. We have two internal forms. One is the VA benefits information sheet that comes directly to me. Then the second internal form is a promissory note, and that goes to Danielle McGee and our student accounts office. Also of importance, the copy of your certificate of eligibility from the VA. Some students, if you don't have a certificate of eligibility letter, some submit a statement of benefits, a letter to me, or a entitlement eligibility statement that you can get offline from the VA. But when you do receive your certificate of eligibility from the VA, even though I have those in lieu of your COE, it's still important to follow up with the COE letter. Also, I'll probably, if you've gone, a lot of you may have transferred from another college and are a transfer new student at William & Mary, and I reached out and asked for a 1995 or a 554095 form, which is simply just a change of program place of training form. The VA will ask that I have a signed copy of that form in your file, because that'll notify us in William & Mary, and it'll notify the VA that you previously used benefits at another university prior to coming to William & Mary. Again, this is what our VA benefits information sheet looks like. You'll simply fill this out directly to me. Actually, this form comes directly to me. It'll ask you only complete this one time for me. Sometimes I may ask for it again if you switch from an undergraduate to a grad level, or if you happen to switch chapters. Again, with VA education benefits, you can only use one chapter at a time. So that's important for you to know. And the VA, you will work directly with the Department of Veterans Affairs with the VA benefits to determine which benefit you're most eligible for. This again, it just talks about the certificate of eligibility. When it arrives, again, I would like all the pages of the COE letter. And then thirdly, the promissory note, our internal form. This payment agreement form is a form housed in our bursar student accounts office. And this goes, you can send it to me and I'll forward it to Miss McGee in the bursar's office, or preferably you need to send this promissory note once every academic year to Danielle McGee directly in the bursar's office. So that's her contact information there. And again, I believe all of you have already done that. It's important to note though, you want unlike the VA benefits information sheet, where I only get that maybe one time from you, this promissory note is good for one academic year only. So the best time to turn this in is right around now, or preferably in the months of June and July before fall semester begins, because you complete it once per academic year. So for 2021, it's good for fall 2020, spring 2021, and summer 2021. Regardless if you use the benefit during those terms, the Bursar Student Accounts Office has to have this on file, because the VA, you know how they are, they may not cover all of the benefit. So this is your understanding that you are responsible for what the VA doesn't cover. So the Bursar's office must have this on file in order for me to be able to certify you. Then what happens next? And this may be where you all have questions now. What happens next is that I will submit an enrollment certification directly to the VA each semester. And that gets the ball rolling with the VA to trigger your benefit payment. An email will be sent directly from the VA when I do this through the electronic means that I have to process. And then I usually follow up either that same day or a couple of days later with an email to you to let you know what I've done and how you can reach out to me if you have questions. So that's what I've been doing now, is starting off the first certification to the VA to get your housing allowance in motion, to get your book stipend if you're using Chapter 33 in motion. And I'll explain a little bit about that. Now you may wonder, well, what do I do for the upcoming spring semester or future semesters? To continue benefits, I will send you an email from VA benefits at wm.edu each semester. And I tell you in this, I usually reach out to you and I'll reach out to you actually around 1st of November for the upcoming spring semester. And you'll complete an electronic response form and get that back to me. And then for spring semester, if you've known that you've done that payment agreement for the 2021 year, you don't need to submit that to Danielle McGee. However, next summer or next April, when I reach out to you about the upcoming fall semester, you will need to submit that promissory note. So that's something you want to realize you need to take care of. Again, for the post 9/11 GI Bill payment that most of you all probably will be using, the VA will pay for tuition and tuition-related fees. It's in-state tuition related fees. Book supply stipend, and a monthly housing allowance. For the tuition and tuition-related fees, again, that is paid directly to William & Mary. And so this first certification that I've just submitted for you in August, or 1st of August, or right now, that will just give the VA your credit information to get the book supply and the housing going. Then after the add drop period is over, at the end of, which for this semester will be the end of August. But in September, I will report a second certification electronically to VA, and I'll work with Danielle McGee in the bursar's office to report your in-state portion of your tuition and fees. And that's how William & Mary gets paid. By me going ahead and doing the first certification now, again, that got the ball rolling with the VA to pay you, the student, the housing allowance and the book stipend. The book stipend is paid as $41.67 times the number of credits. So if I certified you as 12 credits this semester, the VA is going to pay you about $500. And then in the spring, they're going to pay you for the difference up to $1,000. So you'll get more if during the next certification in September, when I go to report your tuition fees, it'll be after add drop, and I'll also report any increases or decreases or add drops of credit enrollment that you have. So we may tell VA you're, instead of now I said you were 12 credits, you might be up to 14 or 18 or 16 credits. And that will also add to your book stipend. So you might receive a book stipend for fall if you're registered for 16 credits or so, or 17 or 18 credits, for about $700. So that means in the spring semester, when I go to certify you, you're only going to probably receive $300 because they're only going to pay the difference and only up to $1,000 for your book stipend. You want to go ahead now and get your books out of pocket, and then the VA will reimburse you up to 1,000, or well, actually up to 4,167 times the number of credits for your book stipend. For the monthly housing allowance, that is also paid directly to the student in arrears. So we try to get it out now, so you'll see this money come in for September. It's important to note with COVID-19, and because undergraduate courses are starting August 19th, a week earlier, and we're ending before Thanksgiving, that you're not going to get paid housing for December. You're only going to get a partial housing for August, which you would have anyhow, because we would have started on the 26th of August. You'll get a full month of housing allowance for September, a full housing allowance for October, and a partial for November. So you'll get a partial for August, a partial for November. And this year you won't see a housing allowance for December because we won't be having classes. Unless you are one of our grad students that classes are running further into December. It's also important to note active duty students, you will not qualify for a housing allowance. And also it's good to note that the school does not see what you receive as a housing allowance or a book stipend. That comes directly from the VA to the student. So if you have any questions about that, I would say you would call the VA directly. You want to also realize that the VA will pay based on the days you are in for the month. So right now, if you're taking undergraduate classes, most of all of your full-time enrollment is being reported during the same period from August 19th to November 24th. However, if you, in future years, if you go to grad school, a lot of the classes are shorter. And so for instance, grad MBA, I have to report based on the exact begin and end dates for each course you take during the summer, excuse me, for the semester. So it's important to note that sometimes students say, well, my enrollment for fall is 15 credits, but it may be 15 credits, but they may not all fall, those credits might not fall all during the same begin and end dates. So you wanna just kind of be aware of that. It's why it's called the monthly housing allowance. Sometimes that can be unfortunate for the student, but again, the VA education benefits is a great benefit. Post 9/11 is a great benefit to provide you. It will cover though 100% if your COE letter indicates your 100% eligible percentage rate. It will cover 100% of the in-state tuition, but the housing allowance is based on the number of days in attendance during the month, and the book stipend is based on how many credits you're taking. Something to note that William and Mary Joint Degree Program with St. Andrews, which I don't believe none of you all are participating in, we cannot certify this program to the VA for education benefits. Also, what you do need to realize right now is if you would like to take a class in DC, you can certainly take the class, but VA is not going to pay for that class. So I cannot certify that class to the VA. So students planning to use VA education benefits should be aware that the Department of Veterans Affairs has determined that those courses are ineligible. The reason is because all of our programs are approved by the state of Virginia, the state approving agency, and they indicate that basically Washington, D.C., they think is a different state or a different facility. So we have to, and there are no programs available in the Washington, D.C. campus. So that's why. Again, you can certainly take the course, but you do have to pay for the class out of pocket. Again, any questions that you have for the VA, here are the email addresses and the phone numbers. I can be reached at vabenefits@wm.edu or caward01@wm.edu. I think you all have my contact information, and I will be emailing you all today. Trinity, I think you're the only one that may not have my information, but I have yours, and I'll be sending your information. I'll be sending this PowerPoint to you today. Again, I'm located in Blow Memorial Hall. Our office, the office of the University Registrar, is in room 240. And my office number is 245. I'm available Monday through Friday at 8 through 5 by email and phone. My office phone comes right here to the house. So you'll see the phone and the fax. I'm able to print from home. So anything that you need to send me or contact me, please do. And also on Tuesday, we're going to start, tentative, but we're pretty sure I'm going to start on Tuesday. And each Tuesday and Thursday, I'm going to do this from 11 to 12, a virtual Zoom Connect. It won't be a group one like Tonya's. You will be invited in, and you'll reach out to me to make an appointment. But if you'd like to Zoom, have a Zoom Connect meeting, I'm available on Tuesdays and Thursdays from August 18th, and I've set it up through the end of September 30th. Because we may, it's all subject to change as far as the days and the times. So we're thinking from now to September 30th, I will continue this. I am scheduled to work on campus the week of August 24th. I will probably not be able to greet you in person, but just know that I will be on campus the week of August 24th. Then I will be home for 2 weeks working from home, and then back on campus the week of, October 14th, I believe. So it's, and then I'll work from home for 2 weeks and then hopefully back on campus as long as everything's going well on campus. Let me stop here now because I think I will like to just reach out and stop sharing. I'm not sure. I think I just stopped sharing.
Yep.
Okay, and I need to move you all back over here. Okay, now I can see everyone. And does anyone have questions?
Yeah, so I just want to say thanks, Carolyn. I know that she helps veterans every single day because she helps me every single day. So yeah, I want to say two things. Let's just open it up to questions just in general. And we do have some current students who have jumped on. So these are current student veterans have jumped on here. They can help answer questions that maybe some of our outstanding faculty and staff cannot, because they're the experts on being student veterans because they already are, so but yeah, I figure people have questions for Carolyn since they always do, since I always do. So but look, we can open it up to everybody. So yeah, just fire away if you want. You can type it in the chat and I can manage the questions that way. You can throw open the microphone and say it loud and proud. Either way, whatever works for you guys. Just let me know. I do want to address, yeah, go ahead, Carolyn.
So I'll be back on campus the week of August 24th and the week of September 14th. Just so you know. Also, Charlie, when Lesley Henderson ended, she was talking about the call 300, and that was the other item.
I went back and looked. Thank you for having my back on that. Yeah, call 300 is, you're going to see that when you register for classes. Ben and I are going to send you an email this week. Basically reply to that email, whichever one of us, however you want. Some of the current students can talk about it if they've already done it. We fought like hell to get that because we wanted people to get their credit from sailing around the friggin' world on a ship or whatever else they did. That got you the global perspective. Now, if you want to take a Global 300 class, great. Yes, take it. That's what we want, is for everybody to do what they want to do and not be hemmed in with 2 years, with only 2 years to take whatever they want at William & Mary. We want y'all to have as much flexibility as possible. So we fought for that. Ben is the one who reviews those materials, not me. So you can put whatever you want in there. and you'll get transfer credit for to meet the global perspective. The current students can talk to how easy or hard that is. I understand that it is pretty doable. It's doable even in an otherwise packed semester. But like I said, we got experts on the line who can talk about that. But yeah, any kind of questions at all, anything for me. I should take a second to introduce my GA for the very first time ever. We do have a graduate assistant. So I said that out of 3,000 faculty and staff, you've got me. Well, now you've got me and a graduate assistant. So we're super excited. Devontae Allen comes to us from George Mason University, psychology major. Both his parents were in, and he has helped with the VA with diversity efforts. So super happy to have Devontae, and he's on the line too to welcome you guys. So yeah, any kind of questions at all, throw it at us.
I have a question. Naturally.
All right, Christine.
I always have some sort of question.
Yeah,
so,
you do.
I do. So this is for Carolyn. Hi. I feel like this might be sort of an obvious one, but just in case, because we're not getting to do a full semester essentially, like we're dropping off December, does that mean that if we were theoretically doing a 4-year degree here, we would graduate with 1 month extra of the GI Bill to still utilize? Or is it gonna still like charge as though it's a part of the month?
It's not. So with the monthly housing, if you don't attend any classes in December, you won't get paid for just the housing. It's gonna cover your tuition. It's gonna give you the book rate, but you won't get that housing. You would have only gotten partial housing anyhow in December, because the last day of exams would have been, I don't know, around the 15th or so. So but we are starting a week earlier too in August. So you're going to get more money for housing in August, but nothing for December. So you are going to lose probably a week and a half worth of housing benefit when you really look at it for fall 2020, yes, due to COVID.
And a week and a half of tuition benefit, I guess, as well, right? Because my thoughts is I'm trying to hoard as much as I can to filter over into a master's after I graduate. So if that gives me another month or another 3 weeks, then I'll take that too. So
well, that's true. That's true. You won't exhaust as soon as you would have. Exactly. So that's a benefit. That's actually a benefit. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, definitely hoard all the months and days and years that you can. That's been a passion project for Kurt Klingenberger. He's a PhD student who's on the line, and that's something that he's been thinking about and trying to work with the business school on is, how can somebody perfectly manage their GI Bill so that they maybe even be able to get 2 degrees at William & Mary. We haven't figured it out just yet, but that's the kind of thought that can help with planning. And Carolyn is happy to help with planning. I'm so excited that she's opened up the Zooms to everybody, and that Tonya's opened up the Wednesday Zooms to everybody, because this is the first semester of that, and that's something that hopefully everybody wants to take advantage of. Any other questions about any different aspect of what we've heard? I'm happy to relay them to Lesley if need be.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yeah, shoot.
Oh, go ahead.
Can we count on being able to take a full course load next summer? As I understand it, they're planning on offering classes like untraditionally in the summertime next summer. I just want to be sure that I'll be able to, because me starting like housing at a new place in the spring, I'm staying in Northern Virginia this fall. So I just want to be sure of that. Are we for certain on any of that yet?
Yeah, who wants to forecast higher education in the summer? I'm going to go ahead and say that that's going to be fluid, just because nobody wants to get pinned down to predict that. Carolyn, what do you think?
I think work with your academic advising, an academic advisor regarding that. Chase, reach out to me if I can find out more information for you. I don't really know how to address that right now. But definitely it would be more, instead of our office, really, it's the academic advising and your advisor to advise you. Also, you could reach out to me and I'll have better contacts to answer that question. Okay?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Sure.
So Garrett, yeah, go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, so, or
Hey, you just muted accidentally.
sorry. So normally in the summer, I recommend folks to start taking, like, say, some of their, for instance, I'm an IR major, so I would take like IR electives or other peripheral courses in the summer. And then normally professors have like the core classes to a major within the fall and the spring. So what was always been recommended to me, even during the coronavirus, was, hey, we are going to expand courses during the summer, but we still are going to have like the core classes, like say for IR majors, that's research methods. We are still going to normally have that during the fall and the spring. But there are, I have to use the summer as an example, but they do have enough courses where you can meet a full course load. Normally that would have to be like the electives and maybe some of the other ones that wouldn't meet that major or call requirements as well too.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say is, we've got Harvey Langholtz on the call. He's, happy to help you with the advising. There is an office of academic advising, and I happen to have met with them too. There happens to be 2 veterans who work in that office. You got Dane Pasco, who's a Navy vet, and you got Gail Williams, who's an Army vet. So you can pick and choose your sea services or the Army side if you want, but they're there. They are primed because they told me they wanted me to send them the vets, so a bunch of options there. You can get a second opinion. How about that? That's one thing Harvey's always said is, you want a second opinion? That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, let me reinforce that. Thanks, Charlie. I'm happy, even though you probably already have another academic advisor, I think of me as an alternate academic advisor. I'm happy to do that too. And let me also emphasize both what Carolyn said and also Lesley backing up one. Yes, Carolyn, I completely agree with you. When we come to questions about the future, the spring, the summer, check with the academic advisor. They'll be in a good position to answer in terms of that. And also backing up to what Lesley said in the recorded message, the scholarships. Sometimes scholarships like that just go unrequested and the money sits there. So don't be bashful, go ahead and apply for it. And another source, and just to broaden it, not just scholarships, but internships, Fulbrights, all kinds of other things. And again, this is out over the horizon a little bit. The Charles Center has a long list of these. So as I said during my few minutes at the beginning of the session, I know right now is the time to focus on this semester, getting adjusted, etc. But looking out over in a longer view, go to the Charles Center website, look for internships, fellowships, research opportunities, other things, because sometimes these also just go uncalled for. So thanks again, Charlie.
Absolutely, yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. The Charles Center, we've met with them before. They've dropped off the applications and the deadlines and things. So they'll be sharing that throughout the year too. And we have had a William and Mary student spouse win the Tillman Scholarship, for example. So this is achievable. For everybody. I want everybody to take a swing at it. Everybody on the call will help you with the application materials, letters of recommendation, all of that stuff. So that's what we're here for. So yeah, just keep that in the back of your head. What other questions? What else can we help with? For the current students, does anybody remember a challenge from their first semester? I know it's probably different for everybody. And I know the example that I always throw out there is parking, which has never gotten better one damn semester since I've been here. But that's the kind of thing, if you got advice, we'd love to hear it.
I don't know if you want this parking advice, but I got away with not buying a sticker so far. But I do ride a motorcycle, so I kind of just park it in motorcycle spots, and if they don't catch me, it's all good. And then I also talked to the office, and they said if they catch you, that they'll contact you, and that you get at least one freebie before you actually get a ticket for not having it. So I figured I'd just wait for that to happen and then spring for a parking pass at that point. So that's my suggestion, but I don't know if everybody wants to gamble with it. I just like to try to avoid spending money, and especially I feel like it's probably difficult for people that have to do that because they live on campus, but there are hardly any classes on campus this semester. So I wouldn't want to spring for a parking pass, but that's my opinion on that. So, and then everyone already knows that I always talk about the financial aid part of it, which Carolyn was very helpful with, because originally I had been awarded some grants that wouldn't have actually been able to come back to my pocket. And so I always suggest, and some people didn't even know they could, and I didn't originally know I definitely would get financial aid, but I always suggest try to get the financial aid on top of the GI Bill, because I've gotten a considerable amount of money from William & Mary to go there. And obviously my tuition's fully covered because it's in state. So the money really just goes to me. And if I need that money for a BAH or something, I'll utilize that. But I highly recommend making sure you at least try to do that financial aid. Scholarships is a great idea too. Although those of you who are like me, I'm 31, most of the scholarships will be ruled out automatically for you. But I did have a Miss Love who works in the Charles Center department. She suggested like Fulbright still works for us, and then like Boren scholarship. So if you're like over 30, you might want to look into those as a suggestion. But I think some of the cutoffs is 25 years old or something like that they want like younger students. So just look into it. It doesn't hurt. So
yes, I would stress that. Thank you, Christine. I definitely would stress that too. Fill out a FAFSA. Apply for financial aid. You can use financial aid in addition to your GI Bill. And if the financial aid office awards you what's called the Commonwealth State of Virginia grant or VGAP grant, they are tuition only. Sorry, my electricity just flickered. They are tuition only grants, which you kind of want to stay away from. But if you contact the financial aid office, if you know if you've got financial aid and you've been awarded those, reach out to the counselors in the financial aid office, because they can look into switching those grants out, hopefully give you the same amount of money, but just have a different non-tuition only. So if you're researching scholarships and you're researching financial aid, try to apply for ones that get used for things for tuition, but also besides just tuition. Make sure it can be used for tuition, books and supplies, personal, transportation, housing, because what happens with a tuition only scholarship or financial aid, that amount has to get deducted from the tuition amount that I report on for the GI Bill for your certification. So you don't get that too. Whereas if you have a non-tuition grant or scholarship, you can get that, plus I can report the full tuition amount. So that's something to note. You can also Google scholarships. There's a lot of military scholarships that go unawarded through the VFW and things like that. The thing to remember, there are scholarship scams out there. So make sure anytime you apply for scholarships or financial aid, it should always be free. So if the application is free and you meet the criteria, then I would suggest you apply. And again, the financial aid office can, assist you directly with the financial aid portion. It's FAFSA.gov, FSA.gov, free application for federal student aid.
Right. One other reason to fill out the FAFSA is over at the Tutor Zone, they can provide free tutoring, so they can actually just cover the cost for tutoring if you meet the need as they determine it, or as it's determined over in financial aid. So there's little things like that. I love the Tutor Zone. I can probably do a damn commercial for them because you have to have an A in the class to be a tutor for the class. And so I think it's just better than I expected, and possibly people have experienced at other institutions. So you do have tutor money set aside through the GI Bill. And so there's really kind of two ways to take advantage of it. And I have the form and I can help you fill that out too, or apply for all the stuff at the Charles Center, all of that.
And it's easier doing the tutoring through William & Mary than it is the VA.
Much easier. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? You can use the chat if you want. You can fire away any of my current students if you guys have got any saved rounds for everybody from the first semester that you remember. Is it an easy adjustment?
I think what filled me with the most consternation was exams when I transferred. And And so I think to Professor Langholtz's point about other students being sort of like testing machines, I think that's 100% valid. I think when I was in my first semester, what helped me the most was being partnered up with other students. So I guess traditional students in this case. So they provided I would say like the best advice that they ever gave me was to create a Google Doc. And so a Google Doc is how you kind of compile all of your notes. So you would have one for your reading notes and then one for your class notes. And then so as you're reading, say you have a book that has multiple definitions or they're bolded, or you're reading a chapter and one thing really stands out at you, is to match it up with 3 bullet points on why that definition is important for you to know. And so certain professors will do this, but they'll have a study guide prior to the exam where they'll basically list those definitions. And so same thing. So if you haven't, or maybe you looked over maybe some of those definitions, go back to your reading and then write 3 things that are most important about that definition. Several professors of mine, they said basically when we create exams, and this is said in class aloud, but when we create exams, what we're really testing is do they know this definition? And so they're really looking at their sheet and saying, okay, are they hitting all of these wickets here? So that's really the importance of writing all of these things down as you're reading it. And so the reading notes especially are helpful when you're in class and when the professor is asking about the readings, and then so you can easily scroll through and see what you hit. So I know that certain people prefer having a book in front of you. I prefer virtual books myself because I have like an app that can copy and paste from Amazon, so I can put that in my Google Doc, and so it makes compiling all of this a little bit easier for me, and then highlighting notes as is. But I can definitely have a separate session to really go more in depth about how this really helped me succeed.
So just to look at the time, just to be respectful for everybody's time, and to do one thing while you're on campus with military precision, since I know this is academia, so you might not have a lot of that going. If you need to drop off the call, that's fine. I'm going to stick around until the last person leaves, but I want to say thank you to all our special guests for coming in yet again for the new student veterans. I think we've got a really good thing going with orientation. It's because of the contributions of everybody who spoke to you today. And yeah, like I'll stick around. Thank you guys so much for signing up to join us here at the Tribe. But yeah, if anybody needs to drop off, I want to go ahead and make sure that we have time for actually drinking water or actually eating brunch or some of these other things that you may not have felt like you had a chance to do during the session.
Charlie, I've got to run, but I wanted to point out one thing that I found out yesterday. There are a number of new parking options. The question about parking came up. You may know about them. They are making some differences because of COVID-19. So there's a daily parking option now. There's a pay by meter, a pay by cell phone option. It's going to save me about 180 bucks. So it's a good option.
There you go. That's right. Because you come one day a week, right? And
Yep.
so you want those daily passes. I have my eye on that too. Yes.
Yep. I'll also point out that if you're in a pinch, and I've done this many a time, I go park in the Williamsburg high-rise parking. It's quite economical, and there's almost always a spot there. And it's
There you go.
a short walk to campus.
Right. So now we're getting to the life hacks. This is exactly why we extend the session a little bit beyond the time, and so everybody can get that good info. Yeah, no, that's great. And so I'm considering doing that. I see Phil put his email in the chat. You're definitely going to hang on to that. Everybody is going to get dozens and dozens of emails from me. I email everybody at least twice a week. It usually ends up being 2 or 3 times. As people send me information, I like to pass it along to you guys and also send reminders for my virtual office hours. So don't worry, this isn't the last you're going to hear from me, but it also isn't the last you're going to hear from the folks who jumped on the call, because they really are committed to supporting everybody through all this. So yeah, I'm going to stick around. Let me make sure the chat doesn't have other questions in there, and I've just spaced on it. Yeah, here's a whole bunch of folks putting their phone numbers and emails. That's so nice. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I was going to brag on Anthony. He doesn't know this, but I took notes when he was talking to me about group work, because they were so good. His take on group work was so good. that I thought I would share it. So for veterans, we get into groups with traditional students, and sometimes that's a little bit difficult, especially if somebody has extensive leadership experience before. You know, if somebody's been, I know we've got some folks who are NCOs, you know, before they got to William and Mary. And so you go into a group work and then you're all equals within the group. And so there's just been, I'm going to steal Phil's word. He said consternation earlier. There has been consternation about groups, but Anthony's philosophy on that was to be generous. And I had to write that down, is to give others a chance to lead. That is generous for those of us who have had some leadership experience to be able to do. But it's also in the spirit of higher education, is to let them learn. You know, I'm not going to speak for Anthony on this one, but maybe take them aside if you need to say, I have a small suggestion about how this group work could go, you know. But I thought that was really nice. You know, he really talked about guiding the group rather than necessarily taking it by the horns and saying, let's do this, you know. And I think it's a process. I mean, I think the transition is a series of small adjustments. And then one day, maybe we can look back and say, I feel like I transitioned out of the military to higher education. But I don't know that it happens in the first week, and I'm not sure it happens in the first year. And I know it didn't for me. And I was a student veteran twice, first in undergrad and then again in grad school, and both of them were weird. And so if it feels weird to you, let me validate that. You know, I think it's a weird thing. Any other questions? Like I said, I'll stick around. I know some people have to head out. I know my cat is meowing, so she's trying to cancel it too.
I didn't have a question. I kind of wanted to also jump on what you're saying there. Like, I get that it's weird. Some people are younger than others. I'm 31 in classes with 18-year-olds, you know? So it is weird, but I kind of have like a fascinating educational history. So I went to school when I was 18 as well. I just didn't finish a degree. So to me, I think it's kind of not, I mean, yeah, you'll have frustration or consternation with some students that aren't used to leading, or maybe don't take responsibilities as seriously, or they're more lax than we are, you know, sometimes. But it's really fascinating to see what a modern student's perspective is on things. And I'm actually really proud of this current generation, and seeing the movements that they're willing to lead, like the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter. And well, just in general, the fact that they actually seem to, whether you agree with their politics or not, seem to really want to improve the world around them. And I find that fascinating. And then also, having gone to William and Mary this time around, I think that the student demographic really cares about learning, and they take their work really seriously compared with some other universities. So I think maybe as much as we can impart wisdom on them, because I've kind of tried to help other students and groups lead as well and give advice and that sort of thing, I think we can also learn from them as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go to class, you know, in person and get to know students. And that's a good thing about higher education. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. I definitely think that's also in the spirit of higher education, right? Is for it to be a two-way street, you know? So we're teaching a little bit, learning a lot bit, and so are the faculty and staff, I think. I think they would be okay with me saying that, is that they're here to get smarter too, you know, broaden their own horizons and everything. I know that I always learn from any meeting that I go to, whether it's with a student veteran or faculty and staff, just what's going on campus. How can that be a benefit to the student vets? And it makes me feel good to hear the kinds of things that we got. Other thoughts? Does everybody feel good? We feel orientated? Okay, well, like I said, you're going to hear from me a lot. Everybody knows that they got my email address. But just like Carolyn, my phone rings to the laptop. So whether I'm on campus or whether I'm off, you can still get in touch with me. And then the voicemail goes to my email, which means that sometimes I can't figure out which is the best way, you know. But I will get back to you. We'll get it sorted out. We definitely want to help and support you. We want to get you started off right. If you come up with a question the second that we close this Zoom, that is okay too. You just follow up with any one of us and we'll start hacking away at it. And, you know, it's a crazy semester, so just heads up on that already. Anthony, I saw you turn on your microphone. You got something?
Yeah, I would like just to add that well, I think one of the big elements of success here is planning and just understanding how things work around here. So because of that, I made that tracker that Phill discussed earlier. And I want you guys to know I'm going to try to have that up by Wednesday, along with a video explaining the tracker in detail and how it's going to calculate your benefits for you, help you plan out your semesters, help you track that you're meeting the college curriculum, which you have to meet in order to graduate, and some other things that may seem very confusing when you first get here. I'm hoping this will mitigate any confusion and poor decision making in the future for you guys, because it does get a little confusing sometimes. So I'll try to have that up by Wednesday for everybody and a video explaining it as well.
Yeah, I appreciate Anthony mentioning that, and you can tell from him and Phill and Christine and everybody, you know, Mike, the current students take action, you know, and I love that, you know, and I'm happy to help. So anytime you see something that you want to do or change on campus, let me know how I can help, you know, and we'll work on it together, because that's been a really fun aspect of this job, is hearing from everybody about what they want to see and trying to make that happen. Yeah, I see in the chat that people got to go. That's okay. Like I said, I'm staying just in case, you know. But yeah, I think it's been great to talk to everybody so far. Cat is yelling.
So I'm not actually in the upper echelon of the student organization, but I'm going to put my info in the chat as well. For anyone that needs any help at all, I actually get fairly bored because I'm like all about the academia, and I chose not to work so that I could just focus on school. And even though I'm a film and media studies major, which I'm sure nobody else is because no one ever is, if you need help with any courses, I like school in general. And then I also was a linguist in the military. So I know some people are more into the business school and they're not great with the liberal arts. So if you're nervous about going to tutoring or something like that, feel free to hit me up. I have nothing but free time. I love to help people with classes or tutor and stuff like that. And if you're also not from the area, I'm from Virginia originally. I'm from the Hampton Roads area. So I know all about, like, you know, the beaches and the theme parks and stuff like that. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up.
And I hear on the grapevine that Christine will put you in a major motion picture, that she will direct you in your film debut. I know that from another student veteran, but she also did bring her sister to the office. So I got to meet a real detective, which I don't know if I'd met a detective before that. So that was very cool.
We also have a student that's he's like a savant in math. Like, I swear, like he can do like any math problem. Rob Thompson. He also makes a really good tutor with that.
Right. Yeah. So that's one of our student vets from the School of Education, which is always really interesting. He's getting his PhD, but he's already got an MBA. He's been a stock trader. Yeah. So all these cool stories, you know. Yeah. So like I said, anybody got any saved rounds or anything else? Anything we forgot? Everybody feel good?
Really quick, book donations. I definitely got a plethora of books that you can use for the school, especially I'm taking my GRE in March. I'm going to donate all my resources to the office so that if anyone else, you know, when that stuff's coming up, you guys can have access to these things. But if you know anybody or you have stuff that you don't need, please donate to the office.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you, Anthony. I think we can create like an Excel sheet and we can compile everyone in the group to contribute to that.
Excellent, buddy.
Awesome. Yeah. Appreciate it, guys. I am not going to keep it in a box in the dark. I have a shelf in the office and we'll put it on there for everybody to be able to access. All right. Does everybody feel good? Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us, spending 2 hours and change on a Sunday. Please eat something, because I know nobody ate this whole thing, or at least if they did, they turned their camera off. So worst brunch ever, I know, but like I said, we're going to get it fixed in the future semesters, and you can come to any brunch I have because I owe you a burrito. But yeah, thanks everybody. Really appreciate it. Glad to have the new folks, and I'm really looking forward to a weird but wonderful semester. See you guys.
Thank you.
Take care.